Imperfect Thriving, episode 56, the top 5 reasons you must declutter your home now. I'm Catherine Ely, former attorney turned licensed counselor and coach. Oh yeah, and recovering perfectionist. It wasn't long ago that my self-criticism and fear kept me from having the self-worth, confidence, and courage to make my life my own. Through life lessons learned and by going back to school in my 40s, I am finally enjoying my life in a way I never thought possible, and it is amazing. I want you right here with me. No need for you to go back to school either. I created this podcast to show you the way to the imperfect thriving kind of life, based on what you value, filled with self-worth, confidence, way more joy, and no more regrets. So let's go. Why is it so important that we declutter the space that we live in? Well, excessive clutter in our homes impacts our mental and our physical well-being. Increased clutter can lead to anxiety, reduced ability to focus, and can increase oxidative stress. So let's get straight to the benefits of decluttering our environment. Welcome back to the Imperfect Thriving 5-part series on decluttering. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go over a quick recap of what we've accomplished so far in our series. And if you haven't listened to episode 53 about decluttering your closet and episode 55 about decluttering your relationships, no worries, you can go back and do that after this episode. And when you do, be sure to grab your ultimate self-value worksheet. Thinking that you deserve the life you want is the key to having it. Without self-value and thoughts that you are worthy, it will not happen. So if lacking enough self-value is keeping you from clearing out the clutter and making space to breathe into the life that you want, run, don't walk, and grab your worksheet. You can find it in the show notes of episode 55. The show notes are at imperfectthriving.com. Just click on the button that says listen to the podcast of episode 55, scroll down, and you will see the show notes with the link in it. So here's a quick recap. We need to declutter our closets because so many studies show that what we wear affects our behavior, our mood, our attitudes, our personality, our confidence level, and how we interact with others. And scientists have called this effect enclothed cognition. We want to dress according to the person we want to be and the life that we want to have. Clearing away the clothes that do not fit this purpose will take away some of our decision fatigue. By removing the clothes that don't help you feel good about yourself, you're making it easier to dress in ways that contribute to feeling good about yourself, which makes it more likely that you will be confident in yourself, enjoy your day, and get closer to the life that you want to have. So if you missed it, go back to episode 53 after this. You will learn what questions to ask yourself so that you can clear your closet of clothes that are unhelpful to you moving ever closer to the best version of yourself and the life that you want to have. Now, in episode 55, we decluttered our relationships. So go grab your bonus worksheet that I've included for you in the show notes of episode 55, The Secret to Decluttering Your Relationships. There's your ultimate self-value worksheet, and we'll talk more about it in the episode and why it is so important. So remember, the reason why we need to declutter our relationships are that negative relationships in our lives can lead to feelings of low self-worth, helplessness, fear, anxiety, depression, insecurity, paranoia, feeling like you are drained, being unhappy, and even physically or emotionally ill. So head back to episode 55 and learn exactly what questions to ask yourself so that you will know whether to hang on to a relationship or whether it is more beneficial to you and the life that you want to let it go. Now, before we get started with today's episode, I want to give a special shout out to my friends living in the DC area. Thank you so much for listening. I would really love to hear from you. Just reach out and DM me at Imperfect Thriving on Instagram. Let me know which episodes have been your favorite and what you would like to hear more about. I really do appreciate you listening, and I'd love to connect. Now on to decluttering our environment. Why is it so important that we declutter the space that we live in? Well, excessive clutter in our homes impacts our mental and our physical well-being. Increased clutter can lead to anxiety, reduced ability to focus, and can increase oxidative stress. So let's get straight to the benefits of decluttering our environment. The number one benefit is we gain focus. There is so much noise going on around us in the world, making it increasingly difficult to focus. We need more than ever for our homes to be a place where we can gain clarity and focus, not places that make focusing an even harder task. Clutter around us can make it more difficult to process information. Many of us are working from home. Really, all of us work from home, whether we're CEO of our household or have an additional job. We all need serenity to do all that we do in a day. So decluttering our space will help us focus on whatever those daily tasks are that are on our individual lists. I don't know about you, but it seems like most everything is more difficult right now. I will do whatever helps make my life easier. So the first benefit of decluttering our environment is we will gain focus. The second benefit is it reduces anxiety. It is nearly impossible for we humans to ignore unfinished tasks or unfinished business. Leaving our areas cluttered reminds us of all of our unfinished business. I had a client recently who was really stressed out all the time, never able to relax. And through analyzing her situation, I learned that she had all of these little sticky notes stuck around the outside of her computer, reminding her of everything that she had to do. So every time she used her computer for a task, she was reminded of all the other unfinished tasks that she had left to do. She could never truly focus on any one task because of the hovering sticky notes of all the other tasks. We remove the notes and remove that added stress, achieving clarity and more focus. It is the same with the clutter in the rooms around us. Remove the clutter of unfinished business and reduce anxiety and overwhelm so that you can focus on one thing at a time. So benefit number 2 is by decluttering, we reduce our anxiety. On to benefit number 3. Decluttering your environment can actually help your physical well-being. I'm not kidding. Clutter contributes to higher levels of stress. Due to our brain-gut connection, this stress affects our digestive system. As stress increases, so does bloating, reflux, poor digestion, and inflammation. Organizing and decluttering helps keep the microflora in our gut balanced, increasing our antioxidant protection because our nutrients are more readily absorbed. So there you go. Decluttering is actually beneficial to our physical health. Let's move on to tip number 4. Decluttering also reduces pathogens and toxins in our home. Clutter in our environment allows for a buildup of pet hair, dust, dirt, and sometimes even mold. These pathogens can cause allergies, respiratory problems, inflammation, and chronic illness. So I guess we should wrap benefit number 4 into benefit number 3 because it all has to do with our physical health. So let's move on to our next benefit. Decluttering your environment will actually help you find time in your day. The more cluttered our surroundings, the more time we waste looking for what we need. When we declutter, there is now less stuff to look through, and the process of decluttering itself reminds us of where everything is. Raise your hand if you have a junk drawer in your house, or maybe two. I'm raising my hand right now. Of course, my junk drawer is in the kitchen. And really, it's two drawers. It's a shallow drawer within a deeper drawer. Every time I clean out the junk drawer, I find at least one item I thought I had lost that I needed recently and could not find. So when we clear our clutter, we reduce the amount of time that we spend looking for the items that we need throughout our day. So let's move on to benefit number 5. This benefit is not as important right now because of social distancing and COVID, but it will be important again. Decluttering can actually strengthen friendships. When our homes are a mess, we don't invite friends over because we're embarrassed. Now, Rubbermaid completed a study in which they learned that 16% of moms with 3 kids did not let their children have their friends over because their homes were too cluttered. How we think and feel about our homes affects the way we use our homes. So let's get rid of the clutter and strengthen our relationships. How nice would it be for our houses to almost always anyway be clutter-free so that we can invite our friends over when COVID is gone anytime that we want to. So the 5th benefit is it actually helps our relationships when we declutter our homes. Now, here is a bonus benefit. A cluttered home can actually lead to exhaustion. A study out of Princeton reports that clutter causes us mental stress, which leads to exhaustion. The same study tells us that clutter wears us down mentally, which can impair our decision-making abilities. So now that we're clear on what clutter can do to our lives and how we can benefit from decluttering our homes, how do we go about doing it? First, we need to decide what needs to be removed or cleaned up. So one way you can do this is to actually physically walk out the door of your home, leave your home, and come back in as if you were visiting a friend's house. When you enter your house, tour every room as if you're seeing it for the first time. Now, some clutter that needs to be removed will be obvious, right? If you have piles of clothing or shoes on the floor or mounds of mail and paperwork, that's a pretty good clue that you need to declutter those areas, right? Look around each room to determine what clutter bothers you. Is it too many knickknacks on tables or dressers or bookshelves? Too many pictures on the wall? Too much furniture in a room? Get in touch with what it feels like to be in that room. Then make a list of what you want to remove from that particular room. Do this in each and every room of your house. Now, you do not have to do all of this at once. If this is an overwhelming aspect for you, do 1 or 2 rooms a day until you've completed all your rooms. If you think too much about the entire project, it will be easy to procrastinate. So break it down room by room. The next step is to prioritize your rooms. Start with the room that bothers you the most or the room that you spend the most time in. Start decluttering that area first. Now, let's make it easy to get started in that area. Just commit to 5 minutes of decluttering a day. If you tell yourself that you must complete this project right now, it will become overwhelming very quickly. It could send you into the fetal position lying on a bed if your house is very cluttered and you think about attacking it all at once. Just commit to 5 minutes a day. When you take the pressure off of yourself for finishing it all right now, you will be able to get started. Just promise yourself 5 minutes so that you will actually take that first step. Now, once you start, of course, you can go way beyond 5 minutes if you feel like it, and it will feel so good, you probably will. But only commit and hold yourself to 5 minutes so that you don't put it off. If you know that a room is cluttered and you just don't know what to let go of and what to keep, or if you have a hard time in general ever letting go of anything, here are some questions to consider and to ask yourself. When thinking about any particular object, ask yourself, is this something I love or something I regularly use? Does this item add value to my life in one of these two ways? If yes, you can put it back where it was, or if it feels cluttered there, find a new space for it. If you're still not sure, here are some other questions to help you find clarity. Do you have more than one of these items? If you do, give one away or sell the other one. If you were moving, would you pack and unpack this item? This question really helps me. I moved 3 years ago after living in the same house for about 20 years. When it came time to pack and move an item or let it go, I was much more willing to let it go. Another question to ask yourself, does this item fit in with where you are in your life right now? We go through different chapters and stages in our lives, and just because an item was meaningful or useful in the last chapter does not make it so in this chapter. So if it's not useful to you in this chapter of your life, think about letting it go. If the item is damaged or broken, is it worth the effort and money to get it fixed? If not, let it go. Is there anything more useful for you to do with the space than keep the item that is currently there? We get so used to seeing our homes in one way that we don't often stop to think if a particular space is still useful to us, or if there's another way of reconfiguring it that would be more beneficial to what is going on in our lives right now and what we need. So ask your question, is there anything more useful that I can do with this space other than keep this item here? Now, if you have to ask someone else's opinion about whether you should keep an item or let it go, you probably don't love it enough or use it enough to keep it. So just keep that in mind. Here are some roadblocks that may come up and try to derail you on your path of decluttering. The first one is you might be hanging on to something because you feel guilty about the amount of money spent on it. We all have those items that we splurged on, or we knew at the time we were spending a lot of money on, and we thought then that we would love it forever and we would keep it forever. But things change, right? The same things are not always useful to us, as I said in the next chapter. And maybe you've fallen out of love with this item, but you just can't stand to let it go because of how much money you spent on it. The money is spent regardless of whether you let it go. But if you do let it go, you may be able to get some money out of it. There are so many apps and so many ways we can sell our gently loved and our gently used items to someone else who would love it. So don't hang on to something just because it was expensive. The money is already gone. You may be able to get more money out of it by letting it go. Are you hanging on to something for sentimental value? If so, I get it. We all have items that either bring back happy memories or we want to keep strictly because of the person who gave it to us. But as the number of sentimental items that we have increases, degree of significance of each particular item actually decreases. So what you can do is when you're going through your home, trying to decide what to declutter, keep a list of sentimental items as you run into them. Write it down and you will be able to see toward the end of that journey exactly how many sentimental items you're hanging on to. Choose the top 5 or so items and keep those. Take a photo of the rest of them, especially if these items usually remain tucked away in a closet or a drawer where you don't see them. You will then have a photo where you can readily enjoy and relive the memory that that item represents while still being able to let it go. Now, if you keep coming up, if your brain keeps telling you, well, I might use this one day, I might need to keep this just in case. Let's be realistic about it. When was the last time you used this item? And rationally determine the chances of needing this item in the future. If it has been more than a year since you have used it, it is probably safe to let it go. So let go of that item and let someone else who will use it more often use it. And when I say let go of an item, of course, there are so many different things we can do with it other than filling up a landfill. We can give it away to someone who is less fortunate than ourselves, donate it and take the tax write-off. You can sell it on Facebook Marketplace or a million different apps. So we don't just have to throw this away. You can keep your piles to give away, your piles to sell, and then the items that are broken or so lovingly used that they need to be tossed. That can be a separate pile as well. So now we have all decluttered our closets, our relationships, and our environment. And I have spent my whole weekend decluttering my environment, and I can tell you I feel so much better and so much lighter. So just know I'm right along here with you on this journey. And if you have any individual questions along the way or stumbling blocks along the way, just DM me on Instagram. I'll be happy to answer any questions or help you with any other roadblocks that come up. So if you've missed episode 53 or 55, no worries. You can go grab those and catch up with that right now. Our next episode is all about ridding our minds of the clutter that gets in the way of our happiness and our productivity. So until then, go out and take daily imperfect action toward the life you want to live, and I'll meet you right back here. If you are enjoying this podcast, would you take a moment to go to iTunes and subscribe? It is so easy to do, and it would mean a lot. This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to the subject matter covered. This is given with the understanding that neither the host or guests are providing legal, mental health, or other professional information. If you need a professional, I encourage you to reach out to one.